Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, the show that caters to pet lovers of all kinds. We'll talk about pets on social media, pets doing amazing things, and how to take care of the pets in your life. Whether your pet is a dog, a cat, a llama, hamster, reptile, or something more exotic, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Pets Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GSMC Pet Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Pet Podcast Network, the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Taylor Cowan, and as I said, welcome back. Folks, we're here, we're doing it. It is Friday today, when you're listening. I actually record these the day before. Today is technically Thursday, but you'll be listening to this on Friday. And today, folks, we're going to talk about dog park etiquette. Yes. What do you do when you're at the dog park? And what don't you do? More importantly, really, what you shouldn't be doing. Lots of stuff happens at the dog park. The dog park's a strange place. I've got my cat Stevens here with me, right here on my lap. Not welcome at the dog park. But we'll say that is rule number one, folks. No cats allowed at the dog park. It'd be a whole mess, as you can imagine. I'm doing this episode because I go to the dog park fairly frequently, and I see many strange things and strange behaviors that shouldn't be acceptable. Let's just describe the ideal dog park guest before we get started. Quiet, to themselves, control over their dog. They have control over their dog. They are prepared. We'll talk about preparedness at the dog park later. And well, that's a pretty good description of a good dog park denizen. Now, here's a bad dog park person. Unaware. Unprepared. Yes. The opposite of prepared. Yes. What else would they be? Loud. Overly chatty. There is kind of an awkward thing at the dog park where, I like it because I don't like to talk to other people when I'm at the dog park. I'm to myself, but that seems to be most people. Most people kind of keep to themselves while their dogs are just going at it. And then everyone's just kind of awkwardly standing around, occasionally making eye contact, and then occasionally being like, oh, is that one yours? Cool. Sweet. And it's kind of awkward. But I prefer it that way. I prefer the awkward. There's a rule there. And, all these rules are made up by me. These are unofficial, Taylor's unofficial dog park rules, so you don't have to abide by them. And who knows, I could be making, terrible totalitarian-like rules. You don't have to abide by these, but I think you should, because this is how I like to be at the dog park. Let's talk about conversation at the dog park. I prefer conversation be kept to a minimum or none at all, frankly. I like maybe a brief glance and maybe a light head nod, like just an acknowledgement that the other person is standing there and that the other person has a dog. And, if your dogs are playing together, you each stand on whatever side of the play match is going on. You stand on your dog's side about, I'd say, 4.5 to 5 feet away, just to monitor the situation, make sure your dog's not getting out of control, make sure their dog's not getting out of control. They're there to make sure their dog's not getting out of control. And when your dogs start playing, you both come in and you approach. You stay your 5 feet away. You approach. You look at each other, head nod. Yes, I acknowledge that my dog's playing with yours. And that's where the conversation stops, for me, preferably. Now, that's if you're fielding. So my dog park, for example, there's benches along the edge of the dog park. It's all fenced in. There is benches along the end, or along the sides. If you really don't want to be having conversation, you go and you sit on one of the benches and you let your dog run about. If your dog park has benches or sidelines in general and someone is standing near the sidelines, it's like a junior high dance. That means they are, dropped my pencil. That means they don't want to play. They don't want to chat. They don't want to dance. Leave them be. Let them stand on the edge. Now, if they're out and about in the field of play, as I call it, then maybe they're open for conversation. Maybe. Now, if they're tossing a ball, I'm going to say that's a no-go for conversation at the dog park. I think they're purposely in another activity with their dog. Their dog's probably very focused on the ball. So, maybe avoid that person. And particularly don't let your dog take their ball, because then that's a whole thing. You got to go talk to them and pay close enough attention. If your dog, if you're not watching your dog, if you say you're sitting on the sidelines and you're kind of scrolling through your phone and your dog's running about and he comes up to you and all of a sudden has this strange new ball, figure out who the owner is. Don't make the owner come find your dog and take the ball back, or come find you and be like, hey, your dog took my dog's ball that we were actively playing with. Don't do that. Don't do that to someone. That's embarrassing for you. Less so for them, more for you. For them, it's just a hassle, and no one wants that. So yeah, if they're playing with a ball and a dog, probably avoid conversation, I'm going to say. Now, frankly, unless you can see that they're open for conversation, I'm going to say let it be. Sidelines, totally off limits for convo. Center, maybe. Maybe if they're in the dance floor, then maybe you're up for it. But, you can read the situation. I trust you to read the situation. I don't trust everybody to read the situation, because there's definitely been times where I'm there and I purposely avoid eye contact. Because you don't... Eye contact can mean acknowledgement, doesn't mean conversation. This is turning into some sort of like a work on your social skills podcast. No, this is still about pets. This is specifically dog park. Dog park etiquette. Dog park conversational skills. Eye contact doesn't necessarily mean chat. I'm going to say. But a prolonged eye contact with a smile and a nod, then maybe that's open for conversation. I think that's it right there. No conversation if they're sitting on the sidelines looking at their phone, which you would think would be obvious, but I've been at the dog park before, and it's not particularly clear for some. People will walk up to you, and I've had people ask to take my picture before. Way out of line. Way out of line. No asking to take people's pictures. It was me and my girlfriend, and the lady, it was kind of, it was cute. It was nice. The lady was like, you guys look so good together. Let me just get your picture. And, What am I supposed to say? No, get out of here. I'm still civil. This is still a society. You gotta be civil. But I'm here with my dog or my girlfriend. I'm not here to have you for a photo shoot. Come on. So, sidelines typically off limits. If they're on their phone, if they're looking down at anything, at their feet, definitely off limits. Really, the only on limit is eyes up, eye contact, smile, nod. And if their mouth is agape, then that's definitely good. We've already burned through the first 10 minutes here. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're talking about dog park etiquette. We're going to just get really into it today. I'll talk to you in just a minute.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
And we're back. My friends, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed our little commercial there, and then the music, the nice guitar intro. Folks, we're talking about dog park etiquette. And we spent the last 10 minutes mostly talking about who and who not to talk to. Mostly me. If you see me at the dog park, don't talk to me. Unless I said this last week. Unless you recognize my voice. If you see me, maybe you see my picture online somewhere and you say, hey, that's the GSMC Pet Podcast guy. Which I doubt, unless you live in Utah. If you live in Salt Lake City, near Liberty Park, and you're at that dog park, and you might see me there. So, come say what's up if you recognize me. Highly, highly doubt that will ever happen. But there's a chance. Anyways, we're talking about dog park etiquette. We've been talking about when and when not to chat with people at the dog park. And there's other rules. There's lots of other rules that you should be abiding by. One in particular is your dog's droppings. Now, I've had problems with this for a long, long time. First of all, bring your own bags. Some dog parks provide bags. What I do is I bring my own bags, and then if there's bags provided by the dog park at the dog park, then I use those bags. Save myself the dog bags that the government pay for my dog bags. But I see lots of people who don't bring their own bags, and then I watch from afar, and their dog uses the bathroom on the grounds of the dog park, and then they kind of turn away, like, oh, I didn't see that one. Whose dog droppings could those be? Just because you didn't see it, you know what? A good person, a Gandhi-like person, would not only pick up their own dog droppings, but pick up the dog droppings of others that others have left behind at the park. Because like I said, there's a lot of people who try and skirt off the responsibility and look away like they didn't see, which is unacceptable behavior. There's dogs trotting around all over the park. I don't want to take my dog home and find, have his feet covered in some other dog's doo-doo. All right? Unacceptable. Bring your own bags. Because the state not leaving bags there for you is not an excuse for you not to pick it up. You can't just show up and be like, oh, well, they usually have bags here, so what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to bring your own bags. And I see it all the time. And every time I go to the dog park, there's at least, 20 dog droppings a day that don't get cleaned up. And it's a travesty. It's gross. It spreads. It's not good for the ground, frankly. It's not good for the other dogs. Can spread sickness, spreads disease. It's just filthy. It's filthy. And it's bad for the grass. So clean up after your dog. I used to live in Brooklyn, and I let my dog, I was a younger man at the time. I was not as courteous to other humans who lived in the world. And I let my dog use the bathroom on the sidewalk and just let it go. And I had a man follow me for like 2 blocks and just rip me to shreds. And I've never not picked up since then. And maybe that's what we need at the dog park. We need some sort of vigilante cop group, patrol group, I should say. Not cop, because they will be unlicensed. It will be a citizens brigade type of deal. And they walk around the dog park and they make sure, if they see your dog, if they see you neglect picking up your dog's droppings, they come after you. They have like a little siren or one of those megaphones with the siren on it. Whoop, whoop. And they say, excuse me, sir, stop right there. It looks like you left something behind there, sir. Your dog left something behind and you totally ignored it. And I saw what you did. I saw you try and turn your face like you weren't watching so that people would think you didn't know. But we saw you. We saw that you saw. We'd like you to come pick it up. And they'll have bags on them. The Citizens Brigade group, they'll have bags with them that they can give to you. But you have to go pick it up. They don't pick it up for you. They just publicly shame you if you don't do it. I think that's a good idea. I'm going to start that. Kind of like a neighborhood watch group. And we'll put up signs at all the dog parks. Like this dog park's protected by Poo Patrol. Make sure you have your bags ready. They'll pat people down before they enter the park. You have your bags, sir. I don't feel any bags here. And they're so easy too now. You can get the bags basically free at places. I get them. I work at a bar, and the vendors always bring these. They're like little keychain holders. They're usually shaped like a bone or something, and they've got a little roll of bags in them. So easy. You clip it on your keychain. Maybe you have a special dog park outfit you wear. You clip it onto that, and you're good to go. You go in, slide it over your hand. You don't even have to touch it. There's a protective layer between your hand and the droppings. So, clean up after yourself. It's easy as that. We're all adults here. We're all adults at the dog park. We all have our dogs. If you're adult enough to have a dog, it's like a child. You have to change your baby's diaper. You have to pick up your dog's droppings. That's just basic. And that applies to everywhere, not just the dog park. I'm going to even say it applies to your own backyard. Unless you've got some farm and, you're not going to scour 15 acres of land to find what you need to find. But you may, if you got a small backyard, what are you never going to have guests over? Because the guests will be disturbed. I've been in yards where it never gets cleaned, and it's a minefield. It's, it gets dragged through your house. Your backyard becomes unusable. You got to do it. And by the way, dog droppings don't go well in compost. You can't compost dog droppings. It's not good for the compost. It won't be good for your plants. I don't know, I guess it's poisonous. Maybe it's the food we give them. Horse droppings, on the other hand, great compost. Make go great in a compost pile. Anyways, we're already to another break here. When we get back, we're still, this whole episode, dog park etiquette. So lots more rules coming up. We've only gone through really 2. So plenty to come. Stick around. I'll talk to you in just a minute.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we are back. Wow, what an amazing break that was, wasn't it? I was excited. We're talking about dog park etiquette still, of course. Nothing's changed since the break started, and nothing will change now. This next one's a big one. I'm going to say bigger than the pick up after your dog one rule. There is no little ones allowed. Let's call this rule number 3. No little ones allowed. And what I mean by no little ones is, your kids, I'm going to say 10 and up. Yes, I know that sounds a little extreme, but I'm going to say 10 and up. Maybe if you got like a big 8-year-old and you are constantly vigilant of them, maybe that's okay. But I've been to the dog park before, and some people will bring their toddlers. They're toddlers. Are you insane? A toddler? You know what happens at the dog park? The dog park is no place for toddlers. They get knocked over. And yeah, there's a guy there just the other day, and the kid couldn't have been older than 3 or 4. I'm going to say 3. And he was just letting him walk around, and dogs would run up and almost knock him over and be like, oh, watch out, buddy. No, I don't want to be responsible when my giant dog knocks over your child. I don't want to deal with that. I shouldn't have to run up to you and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe you left that 3-year-old there. My dog should have known better than to run around at the dog park where the 3-year-old is. No. Come on. You must be, let's say this. If you are a human being, you should be at least 4 feet tall. Yes, 4 feet tall to enter the dog park. And if you're a dog, this fits into the no little ones rule. If you're a dog, you should be at least 1.5 feet on your hind legs. Because it's the same thing. There's big boys at the dog park. It's like a prison yard out there. There's big dogs charging about. They're getting in big dog play time. And big dog play can be, it's frightening almost. It's scary to see the big dogs play. They're ground. You almost think they're fighting. That's why I say it's like a prison yard. You're like, oh, whoa, it's one of these dogs got a sharpened toothbrush or something. You got to look out. And little dogs can't handle it. And I've had before. My dog will sniff out a little dog and harass him, and then the little dog always ends up hiding under the bench or something, or behind the owner's legs, and the owner's like, oh, hey, could you move your dog away from my dog? I'm like, dude, I can move my dog to the other side of the park. He's going to find your dog eventually. Like, if you just need a 10 by 10 area for your dog to play, why not just set up a little, I guess that's unfair of me to say they may have an apartment or something, but it shouldn't be at the dog park. If your dog's too small to play, like dogs play, big dogs play, dog park's not your place. I'm sorry, and I don't want to discriminate against small dogs. There really should be 2 separate dog parks, one for large dogs, one for smaller dogs, such as the Chihuahua, the Shih Tzu, you know who I'm talking about. Because, and then my dog will start hounding around your legs, the big dogs, and then they all gather. It's not a place for little dogs. It's prison out there. These are hard dogs, and they're not to be messed with. Anyways, little people, little dogs shouldn't be at the dog park, frankly. And sometimes, it's the people with the little dogs. They'll bring like 4. That's just a target practice for these big dogs. Would you put, figure skaters playing football with the Broncos or something? Line them up. 1, 2, 3 hut. Look what happens. Bones are crushed. Now, that's not to say the figure skaters aren't important. They're good at what they do. The little dogs are good at what they do. But what they do is not play with giant monsters. These are monsters they're playing with. These are wolves. And you're bringing in, something that's closer to a intelligent ferret. And that's not, I like little dogs. I've had little dogs. They're great. They're great to cuddle up in your lap, to bark at the door incessantly when someone rings the doorbell. And by the way, why is it that dogs always come rushing to the door when the doorbell rings? It's hardly ever for them. Anyways, dog park. No small dogs, no small people. Like I said, I'm going to say 4 feet for a human. 4 feet, or, you're burly. And 1.5 foot on hind legs for a dog. And I think that's fair. Quick one-off before we get on to the next segment, go to the next commercial break. We'll be talking about food and whatnot next segment. But before we jump into the break, I just want to say this is a quick one. This is actually probably a very important rule, but I'm just going to brush over it. Make sure your dog's vaccinated before you take him to the park. Vaccinated and neutered. If your dog's in heat and you bring them to the dog park, that is an insane move. You're going to drive the other dogs wild. It's, again, it's like a prison yard out there. And you're going to, let a half-dressed Marilyn Monroe waltz through the prison yard? I don't think so. No guards watching. Technically we're the guards, but still, there's only so much the guards can do. They get overwhelmed. Sometimes there's, only 1 guard per 5 prisoners. Excuse me. Look out. I just coughed. Look out. Everyone disinfect your earbuds. Anyways, make sure your dog's vaccinated before you bring them to the park. You don't want them spreading disease. Dogs get disease too, kennel cough, and dog disease spread easily. You see how they play? They're just mouthing each other the whole time. They spread easily. You don't want that. Make sure they're vaccinated. Make sure they're not in heat. Preferably neutered too. I had to stop bringing my dog to the dog park for a while because he wasn't neutered. And when 2 unneutered males encounter each other at the park, it is, wow, it's scary. And the whole park gets involved. 2 dogs get going at it, in like a real way at the park, then 3 other dogs join in, and then every owner's over there grabbing them by the, that's when it really is like a prison yard. You got to get out your bully sticks and tasers and get on the ground. You put your knee on their neck. It can be intense. The dog park's an intense place. That's why there should be no children, no little dogs. We're going to take a quick break here. Stick around. We're talking about dog park etiquette, baby. We're talking about food coming up next. See you in a minute.
Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
We're back, folks. We're back. It's round 4 here, and we're talking about dog park etiquette, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. We've gone over a few things. Number 1, you shouldn't talk to me. You can. I'm a bit of a curmudgeon. I don't like to talk to strangers. I was taught it from a very young age that I shouldn't. Rule number 1, don't talk to strangers. Rule number 2, pick up after your dog. Easy, beautiful, easy rule. And rule number 3, no little ones. And rule number 4, don't bring your food to the dog park. This is another thing that will drive the dogs wild. Like we said, we've been talking about it like it's a prison yard. And dropped my pencil again, excuse me. And in a prison yard, when one of the other prisoners has contraband, trouble ensues. And when one of the guards brings contraband into the prison, that's against the law. That's against the law, my friends. Food, it bothers the other dogs. First of all, I don't know why you would want to eat at the dog park, especially considering that, the people aren't picking up after their dogs. There's, things in the air. There's hair floating around. It's crazy out there. And you're going to get mauled. You are going to get surrounded by dogs. Even treats is a risky business, I've found. I used to bring a pocket full of treats to the dog park with me to reward my dog, whatever. I decided to stop doing that because I'd always end up with 2 dogs, just following me around. And then their owners come up, and then it becomes a don't talk to strangers thing. Their owner's like, oh, well, he must smell something on you. What do you got in there? I'm like, I don't tell you what's in my pockets. Tell your dog, get your dog away from me. How about that? Oh, someone's got something. It's not, no. Leave me, you and your dog. Leave me alone. Your dog can play with my dog. You can't play with me. That's that. So I stopped bringing dog treats to the dog park. And there's some people who love it. They love the attention. And these are the super dog people, I call them. They've usually got all sorts of knickknacks on them and a shirt with a picture of a dog on it. And they'll bring treats. They'll give it all. Let them do that. But if you want to avoid any trouble, don't bring food. Don't even bring treats. Don't even bring treats. Now, for some people, it's a necessity. They gotta reward their dog with something, or their dog won't listen. That I understand. Extenuating circumstances. I totally get it. But, you're liable when the other dogs start coming. And keep it secret, like prison yard contraband. You gotta subtly give it to your dog, because the other dogs, they'll see it and then they'll start wanting it, and it turns into a whole thing. But yeah, leave your food. Human food does not enter the dog park. It's a distraction for the other dogs, and no one wants you while you're eating your sandwich at the dog park. No one wants to have to come up to you and be like, "Oh, sorry, my dog's trying to jump on your lap and get your sandwich." You don't know how other dogs are with food. My dog won't jump on your lap, but I know my dog will come and sit and stare at you. And that is probably not uncommon behavior among dogs. I know that's not uncommon behavior among dogs. I've seen it. You'll get 3 dogs sitting there staring at you, and then, what, you gonna get mad at them? Stop looking at me. I'm eating this delicious sandwich in front of you, this delicious meatball sub in front of you dogs. This isn't for you. I brought it here for me to eat at the dog park. No, the dog park, that is their territory. What's yours becomes theirs. So that was a quick rule. No food. This is a rule that is a personal bothersome thing for me, because I see it all the time at my dog park. A lot of dog parks, they're fenced in areas, obviously, for obvious reasons. Shut the gate. Shut the gate when you come into the dog park. I've seen this far too many times, where someone just waltzes in and they leave the gate open. So my dog park, there's 2 entrances, and each entrance has 2 gates. One you open up, and then you're in we'll call it the mud room. And this is where you remove your dog. You shut the gate behind you, you remove your dog's leash, and then you open the other gate that is the entrance to the dog park. You shut both gates. You don't leave the gate to the mud room open. You shut it both. If you've got a sunroom in your house, you don't want to let the heat out. You don't want to let the dog out. And then, if you leave the gate to the dog park open, not to the outer world, but to the dog park in the mudroom, what happens when the next person needs to come into the mudroom? Then there's dogs running around the mudroom and they can't open the gate to get in. Shut the gate. And remove your dog's leash, but keep the leash on your person. Because sometimes, stuff goes down. And you need to lasso your dog up and take him with you. So don't have your leash on the other side of the park. I used to do this. I used to just leave my leash hanging at the gate, and then I'd always have issues where I would need to collect my dog quickly or get my dog away from someone else's aggressive dog. And you're going to want that leash right there. You're not going to want to have to run to the other side of the park, grab it, come back. Keep your leash on your person. Shut the gate. That's 2 rules. Now my dog's chasing my cat around. I don't know if you can hear that. Shut the gate. Well, let's see. Let's name these rules. What would that be? Rule number 3. Rule number 4, no food. Rule number 3, shut the gate. Rule number 5. Oh, I'm counting down. Jeez. Rule number 4, no food. Rule number 5, shut the gate. Rule number 6, keep your leash on your person at all time. That's your control rope. And you're going to want that. Eventually, if you take your dog to the dog park often enough, you know that from time to time it goes down. And it's not pretty. No one wants it. It's embarrassing for everyone involved. But, you do what you got to do. You round up your dog by the leash. And that's that. We've already burned through another 10 minutes. My goodness. There's still more rules. There's still more rules being broken. There's still more rules to be said that need to be vocalized by me. Because just these dog parks, no respect. In the words of Rodney Dangerfield, get no respect at these dog parks. Can't get respect at home, can't get respect at the dog park. It's time for the etiquette and the respect to come back to the dog park. We're going to take a quick break here. When we get back, we're going to talk about toys, collars, the rest of the dog park rules. Talk to you in a minute.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, talking about dog park etiquette. We've gone through 6 rules already. I won't repeat them this time over because we're getting near the end, and there's still a lot to go. I believe you're on rule number 7. Yes, rule number 7. This is the new rule. It is bring your toys to the park. Bring your dog's toys to the park, but be careful. Because, know your dog's temperament. You don't want your dog getting rough over toys. Because your dog toys are highly likely to get taken by another dog while you're at the park. And believe it or not, some dogs don't like that. That rubs some dogs the wrong way. And you don't want to fight to break out over that. Over a simple toy. Because it will. So that's an easy one. We won't get too deep into that one. Rule number 8, watch your dog. I know it's easier. A lot of people go to the dog park and it's like, this is so I don't have to do anything. I can just sit here and look at my phone and let my dog run amok. No. You let your dog do that, your dog's going to join a gang. It's like a child. And this is rule number 8 and rule number 9 kind of go together, because rule number 9 is don't let your dog run in a pack. They're going to gang up, and once they pack up, they're going after, the guy who broke rule number 3, no little ones. They're going after his little chihuahua. So you got to be, eyes on your dog at all times. No looking down at your phone, no. You can read a book, but, make it a light read. I don't want you reading any Freud or some philosophy book. Read something that you can keep an eye on your dog at the same time. You're not going to lose your place, so to say. And the phone, off limits. Unless you're filming your dog, your phone should be in your pocket. You should be ready to go at all times. You should be on your, ready to pounce and chase after your dog, tackle him if you got to. You're the prison guard. The dog park's the prison. And I don't know who the warden is. The guy who refills the bags. He's probably the warden. But the warden, it's not his job to take care of your dog. He does administrative stuff. You're the guard. You are the guard. Act like it. I don't want to sound like I'm scolding you. Sorry if that was a little aggressive. I'm a bit of a dog myself, they say. What was that? Rule number 8? Yes. No, that was rule number 9. Rule number 8 and 9 go together. 1, pay attention to, or 9, don't let your dog run in a pack. It's confusing when I'm saying all these rules at once. I don't have any of this written down, so I'm kind of just winging it here. But these are things I've noticed for a long time. And I'm hoping they'll stop after this. My dog's about to bark. Oh, he didn't. My neighbor's got a horse. there's a horse in their backyard now, and he just sits there and barks at it all day. The horse doesn't care. The horse is like, who are you? You're a small horse. But yeah, I don't even think my neighborhood's zoned for a horse. It can't be legal to have a horse back there. I don't care. I think it's really cool. I like that there's a horse back there. It makes it fun. I want to give it an apple. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's kosher. I don't know, though. Rule number 10. Give your dog a little exercise before. Walk to the park. Don't bring your dog full energy into the park. Give it you want your dog about half energy before you get into the park. So maybe walk your dog there. Or what I like to do is I ride my bike to the dog park and have my dog run alongside me. And then by the time my dog's at the park, he's already he's halfway there, so he's not going to play as rough. The dog park is a place for the dogs to play a little rough, but things get out of hand. Things get out of hand really quickly. So yeah, get them half exercised and let them play nice. And it will help a lot. It will be very helpful. Let's say rule number 13. Oh, geez, I'm skipping way ahead now. Rule number 11. Rule number 11. No puppies under a certain age. This kind of falls into the no little ones. I actually recommend bringing your puppy to the dog park at a certain age if it's, above 1.5 feet on hind legs. But it is a good place for your young dog to learn how to socialize properly and get put in its place a little. This was really helpful for my puppy because, he didn't know how to act around the big boys. It's like when you first, you get out of middle school and you're in high school now. It's like being a freshman. You got to kind of learn how to behave. You're kind of weird and awkward at first, and you probably bug people. Sometimes you bug them for no good reason. They're just bullies. But your dog's got to learn somehow, and he learns by watching the other dogs. So I recommend doing that, but just be careful. Remember the rule number 3, no little dogs. Let's say rule number 11 is careful with your puppy. I'll let you make the determination on that one. Make sure your dog will come. If your dog's not going to come to you, this is rule number 12. If your dog's not going to come, then just stay out of the dog park. That one's simple. Easy. Stay out of the dog park. Sorry, if your dog doesn't obey commands, then you shouldn't be there. This is a place of rules. What happens to prisoners in the prison yard when they don't obey the rules? They get sent to solitary. Yes, that's where your dog belongs. If you can't obey the rules, if you can't obey the commands of the prison guards, he's going to solitary. And that's just how it has to be until he can obey. So keep that in mind. Let's do one more rule before we take another break. This would be rule number 12. Rule number 12 is, what's the best way to word this? They're not going to work it out. Rule number 12 is don't work it out, quote. If you see two dogs starting to fight each other a little bit, and you're like, oh, they'll work it out. No, they won't. Don't take the chance. Usually work it out means it's going to escalate into a worse situation. Do you think, we're really milking this prison analogy dry, do you think, if in the prison yard, when, some Aryan Nation guy starts into an argument with a Black Panther, that they're going to just work it out? No, you got to separate. Probably solitary for both of them, frankly. It's not going to work itself out. The dogs need to be separated. They need to be controlled. You need to be able to call them back. Rule number 12, don't work it out. It never works out. Never works out the way you want them to. You want it to. Wow, we're already at that time. Let's take another quick break. When we get back, we're going to finish up these rules. This has been a whole episode of rules. Sorry to play teacher here, the angry principal, but it just needs to be said. These things need to be said. These rules need to be obeyed. The dog park is too sacred of a place to just be released to wild animals and criminals. So, stick around. I'll talk to you in just a minute.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, friends. We're in the final moments of the podcast today. Thanks for tuning in. A few more rules before we head out. I'm going to try and make these quick. I think we were on Rule 13. Like I said, I'm kind of just freewheeling this, saying things I've noticed at the dog park that should or should not be done. Let's say rule number 13 is... this kind of ties into the food one. Don't bring human food. Don't eat at the dog park. Don't feed other people's dogs either. Dogs are on special diets a lot of the time. People don't want their dog eating whatever you give them. They might be allergic. I don't know. Just don't do it. It's not good. You wouldn't go feed someone else's child, would you? Like a well-fed child. You wouldn't go up, if you were at the park and you had some pistachios in your pocket, you wouldn't go up to someone's kid and be like, hey, you want a handful of these, young man? No, that freaks everyone out. That's a weird thing to do. Don't do it. The guards don't feed the prisoners. Our dogs aren't prisoners. Our dogs are our family. But just for analogy's sake, we're going with that. Let's see. That was rule number 13. Rule number 14... let's say, don't give out training advice. Don't, if you see someone's dog doing something and you think it should be done another way, or, even if you know it's wrong, just keep it to yourself. Just, don't be that guy. No one wants you to come and be like, hey, well, if you did this, and then if you pulled him here and pushed down here, I don't want to hear it, frankly. No one wants to hear it. No one cares. And it kind of just comes off as, annoying. It's annoying. I'm sorry. Even if you're a professional dog trainer, especially if you're a professional dog trainer, because then you're probably going to walk up and be like, I know what I'm doing. I am a dog trainer. No, just leave them be. Let them be wrong. Let them be wrong. If their dog's super aggressive and is like attacking other dogs, then maybe go up to him and be like, hey, you got to get that out of here, because he looks like he belongs in solitary. But you don't want to, go and be teacher at the park. You don't want to sound like I do during this podcast. Obviously, at the dog park, this isn't how you talk to people in public. This is how you talk into a microphone to an anonymous group of people that are listening far away. don't give out training advice. No one wants it. No one wants to hear it. And if you're not a professional dog trainer, you're probably wrong. It's probably just how you did it that maybe kind of worked, and you don't really know what you're talking about. So that would be rule number, 13? I'm losing my track now. I think that's rule number 14. Yeah, anyways, you could go back and do the math yourself. Rule number 15. You get 3 maximum dogs at the park at a time per person. So I'm saying, if you're coming alone, you can bring 3 dogs. And that's a max limit. That's even a little much. They better be 3 really well-trained, well-behaved dogs. Because I've seen dog walkers who come to the park. I don't think dog walkers, unless they have 3 or less dogs, should be allowed to the park. I've seen a dog walker come to the park with like 7 dogs before, and it was a mess. There was a border collie that was like jumping over the fence and running into the park where the baseball field was, and then another one was run over there, and then she had like 3 little dogs with her, 3 little chihuahuas that the other dogs at the park were kind of surrounding, and she was yelling at the other dog owners. You brought 8 dogs to the park. What do you think is going to happen? You can't manage 8 dogs. If you had 8 children, you'd get a nanny. And this is the nanny bringing 8 children to the park. And that's just the dog walker example. Sorry, dog walkers. You can bring 3 dogs max. 1 is the appropriate amount. You bring your dogs 1 at a time. 2 is fine. 2 is totally fine, actually. But 3, you're pushing the limits because it's hard to manage 3 dogs, and because they pack together, like we were talking about earlier. You don't want to let your dogs pack, and you're bringing a pack right out of the gate. So be careful of that. There's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can manage. Let's be honest. I don't want you. Let's talk about this whole episode real quick. We've done 14 rules. I think we'll stop there because we're running out of time. I don't want to sound like I'm scolding you, like I'm telling you what to do, how to live your life. I'm just trying to make your life easier for you and for people around you to enjoy your presence more and enjoy your dogs. Enjoy their time with you, time around you, and your dog. And I'm trying to make it, when you go to the dog park next. I know there's a lot of you out there who are listening right now are like, yeah, he's exactly right. I'm tired of that crap too. I'm trying to spread the word. And you should too. You should send this podcast to your friends. Be like, hey, if you know of someone, next time you're at the dog park, be a honorary member of the Poo Patrol. But instead of telling them to pick up after the dog, be like, hey, I see some of the stuff you're doing here. Maybe listen to this podcast and change your ways. You have a few rules. That will be part of the my Poo Patrol agenda. We first we make them, pick up after their dog, give them the bag, watch them, follow them over to the pile while they pick it up. They bend over and pick it up, and then you say, hey, so just to avoid anything like this in the future, why don't you go ahead and take a listen to this GSMC Pet Podcast and, learn some proper manners while you're here. And I think we can do a lot of good in the world. Hey, if you're listening and you want to be part of the PP, we'll call them, the Poo Patrol, you want to get this started, we can maybe connect over Twitter. Head over to the GSMC Pet Podcast Twitter, or our Facebook or our Instagram. Comment, reach out, and we're going to get this thing going. Thanks for tuning in, folks. As always, do us a favor. Go leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening. It really helps us out. And listen to our other podcasts, too. There's tons of, you've been listening to the commercials for them this whole time. Go listen to some of those. They're a lot of fun. You're going to get a lot of good information, probably better information than I'm giving you, frankly. Let's be honest. Except for this episode. This episode's pure gold. So yeah, check out our Twitters, check out our Facebook, check out our Instagram. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to the GSMC Pet Podcast, brought to you by the one, the only GSMC Podcast Network. It's my radio host voice, or I guess my monster truck commercial voice. GSMC Podcast Network, kid seats, only $5. Folks, I'm your host, Taylor Cowan. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon.
You've been listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.